So right now we maybe have a much better idea of what niche or industry we're going to be running our e-commerce business in. And we also have some great insights into what type of products we might want to choose. But where do we buy these products? There's a whole host of places that we can do it. And now I'm going to give you some insights into some of the best places that you should buy products in and some of the places you absolutely should avoid to save yourself getting into trouble with products that you can't sell or products that don't have good enough margins. So let's take a look at that. The number one place, one of the biggest places that most serious business people will go to buy products or look for new products are trade shows. Now these can be international trade shows. They're very popular in China, such as the Canton Fair, which is one of the biggest ones in the world. I've been to it myself. Or there can be local niche expos. Maybe that's something in a town near you or a city near you, or you might have to jump on a local flight to get there. But these places are where serious business is done. You're going to meet face to face with real businesses, real manufacturers. You can touch the quality, negotiate, and you can find real high quality suppliers that are willing to invest serious money into finding customers just like you. They're there to do business, they're serious about it, and the fact that you've made the trip to the trade show shows that you're a serious buyer. You're quite likely to get much better prices at these trade shows and be able to find much better products because you can look at so many in such a short space of time, touch, feel, ask questions, and achieve a lot more than you could by just browsing online. But if you can't get to a trade show for whatever reason, another good place you can look is a verified B2B marketplace. Now don't just browse for verified manufacturers or filter on something like Alibaba for verified manufacturers, as it's very easy for any middleman or anyone to set up an account in these places and list themselves as verified. If you look at a website like Global Sources, they are much more thorough when verifying manufacturers and suppliers, so they have a much higher quality of real factories and serious distributors. Their vetting process is very strict. Yes, they're not as user-friendly as your Alibabas or AliExpress, but you're going to find much more serious and more professional suppliers there. So let's take a quick look at it. And here we have globalsources.com. And there's a whole host of useful things for anyone looking for good quality products and suppliers. We have categories that are very, very extensive and lists of trade shows in different countries, which can be very, very useful. And of course, you've got the search bar and you can search for lots of popular things or some very niche things. So if I was to click on power bank, we're going to see a whole list of suppliers coming up. And you should find that you're going to get better prices here than the likes of Alibaba because it's more serious suppliers and more often you've got direct contact with the manufacturers. So it's really worth having a look at, but that doesn't mean every product is a great price. It's still very important that you go and do good research, check what it's selling for, and check all those importing and shipping costs so that you know the final landed price. Another great place that you can look, especially if you're starting out, are the homegrown domestic manufacturers, or if you don't have the capital to buy direct in bulk, local wholesalers. If you're buying direct in your local country, you might find the costs are a little bit higher. But often when it's locally made, you're going to get better quality and ways of doing business that you're more familiar with. And you'll have access to better support because those people are local to you or maybe in the next city. So it's going to be much easier for them to service you. And having that made in your own country tag is a great way to command a higher price, and it should convert really well as a result. But if you can't afford to go straight to the factories right away, local distributors are an excellent way to get a good product range, great support, great local service, and a catalog of products that you can sell right away. Very often, some of these companies will even give you credit so that you can increase your product range, and you might even be able to negotiate that if something doesn't sell, that they'll take it back off your hands. So if you've got the cash or if you've got the space to store lots of products, manufacturers, especially local ones, are a great choice. But if you're just starting out, using distributors can help facilitate a much bigger product range and some credit to help you get started. But let's say you've been in some of the big stores and you've seen amazing product lines and you've wondered, where do they get these products from? How do they source them? A lot of the big brands have buyers that travel the world, go to all the trade shows, and their full-time job is just sourcing products. So they tend to be pretty good at that. But what if you could copy what they're doing without having to go to all that expense? Well, there is a way, and it's worth knowing about. And that is called reverse engineering. You can use a tool like Import Yeti, and that tells you who these big brands are buying from and even how often they're buying from them. So rather than guessing what might work for your industry, you could even take a look at what they're doing, which countries they're buying from, and that can help you make decisions on who to buy from too. So let's take a really quick look at Import Yeti. So all you need to do is type in importyeti.com. That's going to bring you here, and it's a very simple interface, and you can type in the name of any company. So let's take a look at PetSmart. That's something that we mentioned in one of the early seminars. We'll do a generic search for PetSmart, and what comes up are all the locations that they are getting shipped to. Now, of course, we want to avoid anything with the same name, so you might have to check out those addresses, but let's just take a look at something that's getting a lot of shipments. So this one seems to be quite big. That's maybe one of their large warehouses. And we can see how many shipments they're getting at particular times. And as we scroll down, we can see the suppliers that are sending goods to them. And if we look on the right, there's a product description of what those suppliers are sending. And we could even filter by the countries. And it all seems to be coming from Asia, according to Import Yeti. Now, this doesn't have all the information, but it has a lot of the information, and it all comes from shipping records. So if we take a look at something, let's say the Ningbo Sincere Holdings, we've got Petwood Cage, we've got something in solid wood, Pet Straw. Above it, we've got Pet Home Pens, we've got zip doors, we got beds. It is quite vague, but if you wanted, you could get a subscription and go and see more detailed information. But the most important thing is you can see the companies that they're buying from. You can contact them yourselves, see what they have to offer. Because if these big companies are buying from these factories and they're very experienced in what they're doing, it's quite likely that these are good companies to be buying from. And you can do that with almost any brand or any major retailer. So it's a really, really useful resource to give you some industry insights or some insider information of where you might like to buy from if you're able to buy in that sort of bulk. Now, I've got some great ideas of where we can buy from, but it's equally important to know where not to buy from, because this can really cause you problems with your business if you get it wrong. One of the places that I really think that you should avoid are the consumer marketplaces, the places that maybe look like a B2B website, but anyone can buy easily. There's no verification. The suppliers aren't very stringent about who they sell to, because that can open up a whole world of problems for you. Often you're buying at a much higher price than you should be if you were going direct, because on these platforms there tends to be a lot of middlemen. And it can be very hard to know if you're dealing with the real factory. These middlemen will say they're the real factory, they'll put up photographs of factories, they'll register company names that sound like factories, but unless you're actually there, it can be hard to know if you're dealing with the real factory. You usually find if you're supplying from companies like this, the margins are very slim, the shipping can be slow, and you don't always get the branding that you want on the boxes. The most common of these suppliers are Alibaba and AliExpress. So let's take a look at what they have to offer to try to help you avoid some of the pitfalls. So first of all, I'm going to take a look at AliExpress. It's known to be much more consumer oriented. Even though it's coming from China, most of the things that you can buy on here, they claim to be very often from the factories, but usually they're not. And you can buy things in a minimum order quantity of 1. So it's pretty obvious that you're dealing with a middleman. But let's just take a look at it so that we can see what we're up against. So we have a Cosori air fryer here. It took me 2 minutes to find a product like this, and I knew the brand. And there's a lot of ratings, and you could be mistaken to think you're dealing with a manufacturer. And the offer's very good. We get a €73 discount. It's €116 to buy the product. Now, a very simple thing I can do is I can take a screen print of that product. I can save that product, and then I can go and do a Google image search for that product. So that's what I've done here, a visual search of the same product, and we can see lots of people have the same product for sale. And of course, the margins there are super thin because I can buy that from somewhere like Amazon at 140 euros. So straight away, we can see that there's no margin to be made there, because once I take off VAT, shipping, Amazon fees, I'm going to be at a massive loss. But people do still buy things on AliExpress because often it looks way cheaper, but once everything's considered, that's not the story. So that's probably a little bit of an extreme case, but it only took me 5 minutes to find it. Let's look at something a little bit more restrictive. Maybe a direct buy from a factory on something like AliExpress. But maybe if we go to Alibaba, which is more manufacturer led, and look for something with a minimum order quantity, we should be getting something much more attractive. So I did a search for air fryers on Alibaba, and this was one of the cheapest ones that I could find. It only took me about 5 minutes to find it, and the price looks really, really good. 21 euros for an air fryer, but I've got to buy 1,000 of them to get that price. So we must be dealing with a good manufacturer here. And that price looks pretty good to me because I know what you pay for an air fryer. So again, I reverse engineered it. I took this image, I did a screenshot of it, and I fed it into a Google search, and I looked for the same products. Now we got some very similar looking products, but I want the exact same ones. So here, these top two are the exact same. The next one isn't, but then again, the next two are the exact same. And as we scroll down, we can keep seeing that exact same product. Yes, there's different pictures of it at different angles, but it appears multiple times. And that is one of the problems with buying off Alibaba. Anyone can do it. So you're going to have a lot of competition, especially if you find a product that's at a great price. You can be sure lots of other people have done the same because it's so easy and so accessible. So you're going to come up with a lot of competition. And when there's a lot of competition, the prices get hammered lower and lower and lower. Now, if we take a look at the one from Amazon, the top result, it's at 70 euros. So that seems like still to be a pretty good margin, right? But we got to break that down to know what we're dealing with. Now, let's not forget that this product was only costing 21 euros, but there is some delivery fees on that. If we take a look below, you're going to spend 60 cents per kilogram of weight. An air fryer is probably just over 2 kilograms, but let's make it simple and say it's going to cost us an extra euro per item. It's probably going to be a little bit more than that. So we're up to 22.29 euros. There will be import duties on top of that as well, but let's completely ignore those for now. And to make life simple, assume that we're dealing with 22.30 euros. So let's look at that Amazon price. It's 69 euros. You're going to have to pay VAT on that if you're in Europe, or other taxes if you're somewhere else. In Europe, that's 20%. So straight away, you've just lost 24 euros of the sale price. And of course, you've got Amazon fees, which will vary, but let's take an average of 15%. That's another 11 euros coming straight off your price. So now we're left with just 45 euros of that 70 euro sale price. It's pretty horrific. We haven't even shipped the goods out yet. That's going to cost us round about 12 euros, again, if you're getting a good deal. So now we're down to just 33 euros. And suddenly we've got a lot closer to that 22 euros and 30 cents that we paid for the goods. And don't forget, we didn't include any import tax, which is going to add a few extra euros to that cost. So if everything goes perfectly and nobody returns anything and we never do any marketing and nothing ever gets damaged, we will be lucky to be making around 10 euros per item. And we had to buy 1,000 items just to get it close to that price. It's a very big investment in one product to make what is a relatively small margin. So even searching hard on AliExpress, looking for the lowest price, best value products, doesn't necessarily guarantee we're getting a good price. We could well be dealing direct with the manufacturer there, but what's happening is there's so many of this product available, so many people have it, everyone is just cutting the price down and down and down to be the cheapest. And that is not something you want to be involved in. Nobody wants to be in a race to the bottom because everyone is just making each other less and less profitable. If you're going to trade shows and places that are harder to get to, you're going to have less competition of people selling the same product. So you won't be involved in a situation where you've got a good price on something, but everyone else has it too. So everyone's just undercutting each other. So that's a great reason to avoid these easy to access B2B marketplaces. And it's very common now to see YouTube videos and social media videos saying, hey, look at these great selling, high in demand products or this new thing. But when 1 million people or 100,000 people have already watched that video, you've already missed the boat. So don't think you're being let into some secret. You're not. Very often those videos are done just to promote the products, no matter how legit that they might look. Getting new products out there in front of influencers with big audiences is a surefire way to saturate a market with a product. You'll end up in another race to the bottom. So if you see a very popular video where everyone is saying how good this product is and someone needs to stock it, take a look around. You'll find if it's not already in too many shops, it's going to be very, very soon, and you should avoid it. And it probably goes without saying, I'm sure you have enough common sense not to bother with these things, but avoid those replica hubs. You'll see them in places like Alibaba, branded stuff that looks real, and you've got a massive chance of getting in trouble. And it's going to be almost impossible to advertise those on any reputable platform because nobody wants to get mixed up in something like that. So you will see it. It can look tempting, but please, please, please do not do it. It's a very dangerous thing to get involved with. Your business will not have any longevity. Now, another one that I really want to talk to you about is drop shipping websites. Now, coming up, we have a whole module on drop shipping. It's a very hot topic. It used to be very, very popular. It died a death. People understood that there's probably not much money to be made at it, but it's resurfaced with a lot of AI and Shopify filled stores, all to do with drop shipping, and it looks absolutely fantastic on the surface. But when you scratch a little deeper in these things, you can see there are a lot of flaws in them. So we're going to take a look at that right now. But importantly, I'm not super against drop shipping. I've done a lot of it myself, and there are ways to do it successfully as a legitimate business. It can be a really good thing. But the most popular ways that are being peddled all around social media, just like those popular products on social media, they do not work. But I'm going to give you a little insight now into what they're actually doing. So very often you'll get a free drop shipping course, and whichever expert it is that you're speaking to is going to recommend that you use a very specific website and subscribe to it to get all your products. And they will tell you it's the best thing ever and everyone's making loads of money doing it. What's actually happening is the person that's given you that free course, no matter how genuine they might look, they are getting a kickback from you clicking on their link and subscribing to all the different fulfillment services and websites that they have recommended to you. And that's how they're making their money. Their job is to make it look super easy, to make lots of money, or even get you thinking, well, it's not a lot of money, I may as well give it a go. I promise you it will not work. Just like what we looked at before, you're going to be up against thousands of people selling the same products. You're going to be buying at very low margins. And there's something even worse. So let's take a look at one of those dropshipping websites, probably the most popular one. This is a website called Tradell.io. It's doing the rounds on social media. There's loads of influencers recommending you go and sign up for an account there. Absolutely avoid it like the plague. It looks amazing. If you watch the demo videos, all you need is a Shopify store. You connect it to their software and it is going to fill your store with thousands of drop shipping product in any category you want, and they have curated them to give you the best product margins. Just like those examples from Alibaba and AliExpress, it's oversaturated and the margins aren't real. You will not make that sort of money. What they really want is for you to pay for the system. So if we take a look at pricing on something like Tradell, you can see that it starts from $30 a month. There's yearly subscriptions, which have huge discounts for the very simple reason that it's going to take you a month or two to work out that this doesn't work. But if you've taken that great discount on a yearly subscription, well, tough. Now you're in it for the year. And that's why it's so compelling. And of course, the lifetime subscription. That's what they really, really want to sell you. Because after you've figured out that it doesn't work, maybe it's taken you a month, 2 months, even 3 months, well, tough. You've taken your lifetime subscription and you can't get it back. So please, please, please avoid these things like the plague. You won't make money on them, no matter how compelling that some of those social media influencer marketing videos make it look. This is not the way to make money online. If it was, everyone would be doing it and we'd all be very, very rich. If you're a real business owner, you'll know that it takes real hard work, real experience, put in the time, you will be successful at it. And you'll be very happy to know we are done for today. That's everything I have to give you to help you to choose the right products for your store. I hope you find some useful nuggets of information in there. And as always, if you have any questions, post them up on our community and I'll be there to answer them myself. Thank you again for subscribing. Thank you again for listening. And I hope you're enjoying all the information so far. Have a great day.